Order! Order in the Grand Chamber! I bang my ceremonial staff against the crystalline floor, sending reverberations through the massive council hall. The cacophony of 200 different species arguing in their native tongues gradually subsides to an anxious murmur. I, High Councillor Vexathor of the Galactic Concordat, have presided over many crises in my 3 centuries of service, but nothing quite like this. The emergency session of the 947th Galactic Council is now in session. My voice carries through the chamber's perfect acoustics. The matter before us concerns the Zarx Empire's ultimatum regarding protected species 2749, or as they call themselves, humans. A collective shudder runs through the assembly. The Zarx. Those crystalline monstrosities have conquered 17 systems in the past solar cycle alone. Their ships look like shattered mirrors held together by spite and malice, reflecting the death of whatever unfortunate world they've set their sights on. Councillor Ben Chen, I acknowledged the human representative. Such a small creature, barely 2 meters tall, with that peculiarly smooth skin their species has. Your species has been under our protection for merely 50 years. You barely mastered faster-than-light travel. Please help us understand why the Zarx Empire would suddenly demand Earth's immediate surrender. Chen stands, adjusting what humans call a tie. Such strange ornamental clothing they wear. High Councillor, we are as puzzled as you. Earth has no strategic value to the Zarx. We possess no rare resources, no advanced technology that would interest them. We are, as you often remind us, practically children in galactic terms. Children! The booming voice of Grand Marshal Cathax fills the chamber as the Zarx delegation storms in, their crystalline forms catching and fracturing light in mesmerizing patterns. Children who have been meddling in affairs far beyond their comprehension. I raise my staff again, but Cathax continues. We have proof that humans have been secretly developing weapons of mass destruction. Weapons that violate 17 different galactic concordat treaties. The chamber erupts in chaos again. I notice Chen's face remaining remarkably calm. Too calm? No, surely not. We've had monitoring stations on Earth for decades. Their most advanced weapons are primitive fusion devices and kinetic rail systems. Nothing that would concern a civilization as advanced as the Zarx. Grand Marshal, I speak with all the authority of my office. These are serious accusations. Where is your proof? Cathax's crystalline form pulses with angry red light. The proof will be evident when we reduce their pathetic world to atoms. The Zarx Empire hereby announces its intention to cleanse the Sol system. Any interference will be considered an act of war. As the chamber descends into pandemonium once again, I catch something in Chen's expression, the slightest curl of his lips, a human expression they call a smirk. For the first time in 3 centuries, I feel a chill run down all 4 of my spinal columns. What do these humans know that we don't? After Cathax's dramatic exit, the council chamber fills with frenzied debates. Some species retreat to their environmental bubbles, while others form heated discussion clusters. Through the chaos, Commander Lyra Talos catches my attention, her bioluminescent skin pulsing with urgent patterns. High Councillor, she salutes, tentacles rippling in perfect military precision, request permission to address the Council regarding the human situation. I nod, grateful for her intervention. Talos has spent more time studying humans than any other intelligence officer in the Concordat. Proceed, Commander. Esteemed Council members, her voice cuts through the din. Before we consider abandoning Earth to the Zarx, I must share my findings from 15 years of human observation. She activates a holoprojector, displaying various scenes from Earth's history. 3 years ago, I witnessed a human mining operation on their moon. A simple accident caused a pressure breach. 6 humans were trapped in a failing habitat. Her tentacles dance, adjusting the projection. Standard protocol across the galaxy. Abandon the facility. But these humans, they launched what they called a rescue mission with a 78% chance of failure. Councillor Zixcitic of the Hive Collective buzzes in confusion. Illogical. Why risk additional casualties? Because that's what humans do, Talos continues. They sent 12 more humans who improvised a solution using nothing but primitive tools and what they called duct tape. They saved all 6 miners. An entertaining anecdote, rumbles Representative Gox of the Silicon Consciousness, but hardly relevant to our current crisis. The Zark's empire commands a fleet of 10,000 warships. Earth has barely 50 outdated cruisers. Ben Chen remains silent, that unsettling smirk still playing on his lips. There's more, Talos insists. Remember the Proxima Centauri incident? When humans first achieved FTL travel, they found their closest stellar neighbor already occupied by the Sarks. Instead of retreating, a single human ship commanded by Admiral Maya Rodriguez faced down 3 Zark's destroyers. I remember that report. The humans withdrew after a warning shot. That's what the official report says. Talos's skin flashes with emphasis patterns, but I've analyzed the sensor logs. That human ship, the TNS Adamant, it maneuvered in ways that should have been impossible for their level of technology, almost as if they were testing the Zarks' capabilities. The chamber grows quiet. Even Chen's expression flickers briefly. Last solar cycle, Talos continues, I observed a human entertainment event called a circus. Their performers regularly attempt acts with death probability rates exceeding 60%. For fun, they call it a thrill. She switches the holoprojection to a strategic display. The Zark's empire believes they can overwhelm Earth through sheer force. But in my studied opinion, they're making a grave mistake. Humans don't follow predictable patterns. When faced with superior force, most species surrender. Humans, they get creative. Creative won't stop 10,000 warships, Gox counters. Perhaps not, Talos admits. But consider this. In the 50 years since we first contacted them, humans have supposedly advanced from chemical rockets to basic FTL drives. Their progress rate exceeds any other species in recorded history. Does anyone else find that suspicious? A murmur ripples through the chamber. I lean forward, intrigued. What are you suggesting, Commander? I'm suggesting that maybe, just maybe, the humans have shown us exactly what they wanted us to see. No more, no less. Before she can continue, the chamber's emergency alerts blare. A junior aide rushes in, their auxiliary breathing apparatus wheezing with excitement. High Counselor, the Zark's fleet has begun moving toward the Sol system. They're not waiting for our response to their ultimatum. All eyes turn to Ben Chen. The human stands slowly, straightening that odd tie again. Well, he says, voice carrying a tone I've never heard before, something between amusement and anticipation. I suppose it's time, then? Time for what? I demand. Time to show you what humanity is really capable of. Chen taps his wrist device, a primitive communication tool, or so we thought. Admiral Rodriguez, you have a go for Operation Pandora. Suddenly, every monitoring device in the chamber goes dark. When they reactivate seconds later, they show something impossible. Something that makes my 4 hearts stop simultaneously. The Zark's fleet isn't facing a mere 50 outdated human cruisers. They're facing something else entirely, and that's when I finally understand Commander Talos's warnings. We hadn't been protecting a primitive species, we'd been containing one. The Council's emergency broadcast system shows multiple angles of the unfolding situation at Earth. The Zark's fleet emerges from hyperspace in perfect attack formation, their crystalline ships forming a massive geometric pattern that would strike fear into any rational species. But humans, as we're learning, aren't exactly rational. This is Admiral Maya Rodriguez of the Terran Defense Force, a calm voice echoes through the Council chambers. The holoscreen shows a human female, dark hair streaked with silver, wearing what appears to be a simple black uniform with minimal ornamentation. Zark's fleet, you are entering restricted space. Be advised that any hostile action will be met with appropriate force. Cathax's laughter booms through the communication channels. Appropriate force? Your entire defense fleet consists of 50 obsolete ships. What could you possibly— 47 ships, actually, Rodriguez corrects him, sounding almost bored. The other 3 are in maintenance. Would you like their repair schedules? I could have my assistant forward them to you. I exchange glances with Commander Talos. Is this human actually taunting the most powerful military force in the known galaxy? The Zark's fleet advances. 10,000 ships against 47. The mathematics of annihilation. Lust warning, Rodriguez says, examining what appears to be a cup of brown liquid on her desk. The humans call it coffee, I recall. She treats this like a minor inconvenience rather than impending doom. You really don't want to do this. Kathax responds by launching a full barrage. Thousands of energy beams streak toward Earth's defensive line. The council chamber collectively holds its breath. The pitiful human fleet just sits there. No evasive maneuvers, no shield activation, nothing. Admiral Rodriguez, I find myself shouting at the screen. Your ships, you must... The energy barrage passes straight through the human ships, like they aren't even there. Holograms, Kathax growls. A primitive deception. Rodriguez takes another sip of her coffee. Oh, the ships are real enough. They're just not quite where they appear to be. Captain Nova Sterling, if you would. A new voice joins the channel. With pleasure, Admiral. Quantum displacement field disengaging now. The space around Earth shifts. That's the only way I can describe it. Like reality itself is being rewritten. Where there were 47 outdated cruisers, there are now hundreds. No, thousands of ships. But these aren't the primitive vessels we're familiar with. These ships are sleek, dark, almost predatory in their design. By the way, Kathax, Rodriguez continues conversationally, those repair schedules I mentioned, slightly classified, just like our quantum phase technology, and our dark matter drives, and our consciousness transfer network. Would you like to know what else we've been keeping classified? The Zark's fleet breaks formation, attempting to regroup against this impossibility. Their crystalline ships reflect the sudden fear of their commanders. You see, Rodriguez stands, setting down her coffee cup. For 50 years, you all thought you were studying us, monitoring us, protecting us. But we were studying you too, learning your strengths, your weaknesses, your tactical patterns. The ships you're seeing now, they're just the ones we kept in our own dimension. Multiple spatial rifts tear open around the Zark's fleet. More human ships pour through, their hulls decorated with symbols I've never seen before. One massive vessel, easily twice the size of a Zark's dreadnought, bears the designation TNS Prometheus. Allow me to introduce the actual Terran Navy. Rodriguez's voice carries a hint of pride. Those 50 ships you've been monitoring, consider them our diplomatic corps. Wouldn't want to frighten anyone with our real fleet, would we? Kathax's voice trembles for the first time in recorded history. Impossible. Your species. You were primitive. We saw.
You saw what we wanted you to see, Rodriguez cuts him off. A classic human strategy. We call it sandbagging. Ever play poker, Kathax? No? Shame. You'd learn a lot about humans from poker.
The Galactic Concordat will not stand for this deception, Kathax declares, but there's uncertainty in his tone. Rodriguez laughs. The Concordat? Look around you, Kathax. Look at your tactical display. Really look. The Zark's fleet is completely surrounded, not just by ships emerging from spatial rifts, but by vessels that seem to materialize from nothing, dropping some kind of advanced cloaking technology. Commander Talos was right about one thing, Rodriguez continues. Humans do get creative when faced with superior force. But she was wrong about another thing. You're not facing superior force. You never were. In the council chamber, Ben Chen finally speaks up. I believe this would be an excellent time to renegotiate humanity's status in the Galactic Concordat. Don't you agree, High Counselor? I look at the tactical display again, watching as more human ships continue to appear, their impossible technology making mockery of everything we thought we knew about physical limitations. Admiral Rodriguez, Cathax's voice returns, now diplomatic. Perhaps we could discuss... Oh, now you want to talk. Rodriguez picks up her coffee cup again. Funny how that works, isn't it? Captain Sterling, show them our smallest gun. You know, the one we actually put on our diplomatic vessels. What happens next makes even Commander Talos's bioluminescence dim in shock. Captain Sterling's voice returns, sounding almost cheerful. Activating Project Phoenix demonstration, minimal yield setting. A single beam lances out from one of the original 47 human ships. Just one shot. It strikes a Sark scout vessel on the fleet's outer edge. The crystalline ship doesn't explode. It doesn't break apart. It simply stops existing. One moment there, the next gone, leaving behind only a faint purple afterglow where space itself seems to hiccup. That, Rodriguez explains casually, was a quantum destabilization cannon. Technically speaking, we didn't destroy that ship. We just convinced the universe it never existed in the first place. Quite elegant, really, and that's just our defensive technology. Cathax's voice carries genuine fear now. What are you... We're human, Rodriguez answers. And Project Phoenix isn't a weapon. It's an initiative. You see, 50 years ago, when your Concordat found us, we already had quantum manipulation technology. We were ready to join the galactic community, but then we saw how you treated emerging civilizations, the patronizing, the exploitation, the casual dismissal of new ideas. The tactical display shifts, showing more human ships emerging from what appears to be folded space. These vessels dwarf anything in the known galaxy. Their hulls ripple with energy patterns that our sensors can't even classify. So we played dumb, Rodriguez continues, presented ourselves as a primitive species that had barely reached the stars. And you all bought it, hook, line and sinker. That's a fishing reference, Cathax. You should look it up. Ben Chen steps forward in the council chamber. Project Phoenix was named after a mythological earthbird that rises from its own ashes. We showed you obsolete technology while building something far beyond your understanding. Those quaint fusion drives you monitored, smoke screens for our quantum cores, those simple shield systems, decoys for our dimensional phase technology. A new ship appears near Rodriguez's command vessel. It's smaller than the others, but somehow more intimidating. Its hull seems to bend light around it in impossible ways. This, Rodriguez gestures, is the TNS Lazarus. The first ship we built using full quantum architecture. Its computer core doesn't process information, it rewrites probability. Its engines don't move through space, they convince space to move around them. And its weapons? They don't destroy targets. They retroactively ensure those targets never existed. Commander Talos's tentacles writhe in scientific fascination. The mathematical principles behind such technology, the energy requirements alone would be impossible. Chen smiles. Humans specialize in impossible. We've been doing impossible things since we first crawled out of our caves. It's kind of our thing. The Sark's fleet hangs motionless, caught between human ships that defy physics itself. Cathax's voice returns, subdued. What are your terms? Terms? Rodriguez raises an eyebrow. Oh, no, we're long past terms. What's about to happen is a conversation, a very long, very detailed conversation about how the galaxy really works, and everyone's invited. She turns to face the Council's broadcast directly. This is humanity's true first contact package. We didn't want to lead with the quantum manipulation and dimensional engineering. Seemed a bit showy. But since the Sarks insisted, more ships continue to appear, hundreds, thousands, each one representing a different aspect of human technological achievement that they've kept hidden. Not out of fear, I realize, but out of patience. They were waiting, watching, learning. Project Phoenix, Chen announces to the stunned council, is humanity stepping out of its self-imposed shadow. We're done playing primitive, we're done being underestimated, and we're definitely done with bullies like the Zark's empire. The tactical display becomes almost meaningless as human ships take positions that shouldn't be possible, their quantum technology making a mockery of conventional space combat doctrine. Now then, Rodriguez sets down her coffee cup for the final time. Shall we begin the real negotiations? Cathax makes his final mistake. His crystalline flagship powers up its main weapon array, targeting the TNS Lazarus. The Zark's empire does not negotiate with deceptive primitives. Wrong answer, Rodriguez sighs. Captain Sterling, Battle Plan Theta. Show them why humans write so many books about war. What happens next defies explanation. The human fleet moves in ways that violate every known law of combat physics. Their ships don't just break formation, they break reality. The TNS Prometheus splits into 5 identical vessels, each one perfectly real according to our sensors. The Sarks target the nearest copy, only for their weapons to pass through it, while the real ship appears behind their lines, weapons already firing. That's quantum superposition, Chen explains to the Council, watching our shocked expressions. We can place our ships in multiple states of existence simultaneously. Makes it rather difficult to hit us. The Sark's fleet's crystalline formation, renowned across the galaxy for its tactical perfection, shatters. Their ships fire desperately at human vessels that simply aren't there when the shots arrive. It's like watching master chess players trying to fight smoke. Nova, take out their command and control systems, Rodriguez orders. Minimal casualties, if you please. We're making a point, not starting a genocide. Captain Sterling's response comes with an almost predatory satisfaction. Deploying probability bombs now, Admiral. Dozens of small objects materialize inside the Zark's formation. They don't explode. Instead, they create spheres of warped space where quantum probability goes haywire. Zark ships inside these fields find their complex battle computers calculating that they have a 0% chance of being in that location, so they simply aren't. Entire squadrons of crystalline warships pop out of existence, reappearing seconds later at random coordinates, their crews completely disoriented. Fun fact about humans, Rodriguez broadcasts on all frequencies. We turned warfare into a science long before we reached the stars. Sun Tzu, Clausewitz, Patton, we studied conflict for millennia. And you know what we learned? The TNS Lazarus demonstrates, firing its main weapon. The beam doesn't travel through space. Space travels around the beam. 20 Zark ships vanish, not destroyed but edited out of the present moment, transported back to their starting positions from hours ago. We learned that superior numbers mean nothing without superior tactics. We learned that technology is only as good as the strategy behind it. And most importantly, the human fleet executes a maneuver that makes my sensory organs ache. Their ships move in perfect synchronization, not like machines following orders, but like neurons firing in a vast cosmic brain. Each vessel anticipates its allies' actions, creating a dance of destruction that leaves the mighty Zark's fleet in chaos. We learned that the best victory requires no destruction at all. The quantum probability fields expand, connecting and merging. Within minutes, the entire Zark's fleet finds itself trapped in a bubble of altered space-time. Their weapons still fire, their engines still burn, but they affect nothing outside their private pocket of twisted reality. Right now, Rodriguez explains, your fleet exists in what we call a quantum possibility loop. You're experiencing every potential outcome of this battle simultaneously. In some possibilities you win, in others you lose, in many you retreat. But in baseline reality, the one the rest of us share, you're simply stopped. Cathax's voice breaks through, strained and desperate. What kind of monsters are you? Rodriguez laughs, the sound both warm and chilling. Monsters? No. We're just humans. We're the species that looked at the impossible and said, why not? The ones who turned quantum mechanics into an engineering problem, the ones who decided that the laws of physics were more like guidelines, really. The Zark's fleet hangs suspended in the probability field, 10,000 ships rendered impotent, not by destruction, but by human ingenuity. Now then, Rodriguez's voice carries that dangerous hint of amusement again. About those negotiations? In the council chamber, I watch the greatest military force in known space, helpless before weapons that don't destroy, ships that ignore physics, and tactics that rewrite reality itself. And I understand finally why humans love that strange Earth expression. Be careful what you wish for. Kuthax makes his final, fatal error. His flagship attempts to breach the quantum field by detonating its primary core, a desperate gamble that threatens to tear a hole in space-time itself. Predictable, Rodriguez says, almost disappointed. They always go for the suicide play. Sterling, initiate Operation Glass Ceiling. The TNS Lazarus's hull begins to glow with impossible colors, patterns that hurt to look at directly. A wave of quantum energy ripples out, and I witness something that will haunt my memories forever. The Zark's fleet doesn't explode, doesn't break apart. Instead, their crystalline ships transform into actual crystal, beautiful, harmless structures floating in space, their crews safely trapped in quantum stasis inside. Don't worry, Chen tells the shocked council. They're perfectly fine, just having a little time out to think about their choices. The effect will reverse in exactly one standard galactic week. Rodriguez's voice carries across all channels. Consider this a demonstration. Humanity could have unmade your ships, erased your crews from existence. Instead, we chose preservation over destruction. Remember that. The council chamber erupts in chaos as the full implications hit home. This species, these humans, had fooled not just the Zarks, but every advanced civilization. They hadn't needed our protection. They hadn't even needed our technology. Oh, and one more thing, Rodriguez adds, that terrible amusement in her voice again. Those primitive fusion drives we've been using, they're actually quite efficient. We just thought they looked cool. Humans do love their special effects. The quantum field shimmers one final time, transforming the mighty Zark's armada into the galaxy's largest art installation, a 10,000-ship-strong reminder that humanity had been playing chess while the rest of us were playing rocks. 3 days later, I stand before the council, delivering my final speech as High Counselor. The galaxy changes today, not through violence, not through conquest, but through revelation. Humanity has demonstrated not just technological superiority, but wisdom in its application. They could have conquered us at any time. Instead, they waited, watched, and chose peace. Ben Chen takes my place at the podium, that familiar smirk replaced by a genuine smile. The Terran Federation offers membership to all species, not dominion over them. We kept our true nature hidden, not out of deception, but hope. Hope that when the time came, you would understand. Admiral Rodriguez, now standing on the council floor, raises her ever-present coffee cup. To new beginnings. The Zark's fleet, still hanging in space as the galaxy's largest crystal sculpture, serves as a glittering reminder of humanity's power, and more importantly, their restraint. I look at my successor, Ben Chen, and finally ask the question that burns in all our minds. Why reveal everything now? He grins, adjusting that curious tie. Because something's coming from beyond the galaxy, and trust me, you're going to want humans on your side when it arrives.